talking today with Donna Funk and Brian Keel from KCoe Isom. Who is KCoe and what's your involvement in the ethanol industry?
So KCoe is an accounting and consulting firm that started as two separate firms, Kennedy & Co. and Matson & Isom, both very heavily agriculture focused and can do a lot of the traditional accounting, tax, audit services, but really focus a lot on the consulting side of the business and helping folks really look at all aspects of what makes their business tick.
So let's dive in and talk about COVID-19 and some of those challenges, because we've seen a lot unfold over the past few months. What are some of those items that you've been tracking on your side as it relates to COVID-19?
We were involved in helping folks apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. The second round of funding, at least as of Friday, still had funds available. So if folks haven't filed for a Paycheck Protection Program and still want to, there are funds available. That program remains open through June 30th, unless that second round of funds runs out. So folks still have time to apply for that if they didn't.
Donna, you talked about the Paycheck Protection Program. Are there other programs that you've seen be utilized that complement PPP?
Yeah, there's been a little bit that I'm aware of in the ethanol space on the what's called the EIDL, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So I know there's been some folks that have been able to take advantage of that. That was originally thought to be a much bigger loan program where you might get, up to $2 million in loans. But due to the overwhelming demand that program received, most people are getting capped out at $150,000. So it hasn't been as beneficial as initially hoped. It would be. The other program that's available is the Main Street Lending Program. That's not open for applications yet. That could be of benefit to the industry. That one has stricter guidelines as to who qualifies and not, as far as, it's based on a multiple of EBITDA, but you also have to factor in your current outstanding debt or available but undrawn debt. So what we're finding is for, heavy asset-based companies, that program's probably not working like it was originally intended. And, they've acknowledged that, but haven't done anything to fix it yet. So that's one that we're watching. The other one that's working its way through the process, which Brian will talk about, in a little more detail, is what's being called the HEROES Act. Brian, you might share a little bit of the details that you're seeing on that program.
So people may have heard of the HEROES Act. It passed the House of Representatives on Friday, I think May 15th. And it was part of a $3 trillion spending package that that the House passed. Really important provision for the ethanol industry. And that's a provision in the bill that provides a direct payment of 45 cents a gallon for the amount of fuel produced between January 1 and May 1st. That's renewable fuels or advanced biofuels. So that could be a significant payment program. It also has a provision that if a producer was unable to produce any fuel during one or more calendar months, let's say they were out of business and completely shuttered, you could get half that rate, so half of 45 cents a gallon, based on your production from the corresponding month in 2019. So let's assume in February of 2020 you didn't produce any fuel, but you could show that you produced fuel in February of 2019. There's still a way to get a payment under the program as written. So that has passed the House of Representatives. It's got a long way to go before it becomes law. But I think for all of us who care deeply about ethanol and want to see, stability of the ethanol industry, that's a provision we should all be, insisting that our member of Congress champion when it gets to the Senate. I think one other point that's important to remember is, the final chapter in this book hasn't been written. So we've had a couple stimulus bills passed. We have the Paycheck Protection Act and the EIDL loan program that Donna's talked about. But we have this HEROES Act coming, which could add provisions. We also have funding available. You know, in the CARES Act, Congress appropriated $14 billion to the Commodity Credit Corporation. Now, some of that's getting sucked up for the CFAP program. That's the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program, which are the direct payments out to producers. I think we were disappointed that that CFAP program didn't explicitly help ethanol, but there's still funding on the table. And I think that's another piece that we all need to be pushing for, is to say to U.S. Department of Agriculture, look, your job's not done here. Even if the HEROES Act doesn't pass, U.S. Department of Agriculture on its own could provide assistance to ethanol right now. So we certainly want to see the HEROES Act pass, but wholly apart from that, USDA could be providing a lifeline directly as well, and we should all be asking for that.
For a couple of months in, with the passage of some of these first stimulus programs, are they working? And maybe what are some things that you're hearing from companies as these are implemented and enacted at the local level?
I think they definitely are working. At its simplest form, the Paycheck Protection Program for plants that shut down, it allowed them to continue to keep their employees employed, paid. So from that standpoint, I think it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Was it encouraged people to continue to pay the employees, keep them employed. You know, the EIDL program, like I said, maybe didn't work quite like expected as it relates to how much money did companies get, but you know, there's certainly funds there that, you know, companies are getting that they may not have had an avenue to get otherwise, that, you know, helped keep them open for a month or two at least. And as we're starting to see, you know, some of the demand tick back up a little bit as states start to reopen, maybe that, you know, little bit is just enough to keep the lights on, so to speak, to allow, you know, plants to resume production and, you know, start to stabilize a little bit.
Well said, both of you. Thanks, Donna and Brian, for taking time to chat with me today. I look forward to speaking again soon.